Hey everyone, this video is going to talk a little bit about some basics when it comes to doing dimensions. So in the previous video, we were building some basic shapes, but when we were drawing those shapes, we didn't know exactly how big they were. We were just kind of sketching shapes and making them 3D. What we're going to do now is we're going to determine exactly how big these shapes are. And how you do that is through dimensions. And the icon is going to be up here in the Sketch tab. It's going to be called Smart Dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, whenever you do dimensions, generally there's a minimum of 2 clicks that you're going to have to do. Generally, the first click is you're going to be clicking on the line or the edge that you want to dimension. So for example, let's say with this rectangle, I want this edge to be, let's say 2 inches tall. So what I would do is I would just hover over this edge, and I'm going to click once it lights up orange. And when I click, you're going to see I get a little number that pops up. Now you'll notice this little number is kind of following the mouse around. So there's going to be a second click, and this second click is basically where you want this number to sit at. And as far as where you put this number, this is kind of up to you. Some people have very strict rules on exactly where the numbers have to be placed at. But generally, as long as you scoot it away from the part and put it somewhere away from the part, you're going to be just fine. Some places you definitely don't want to put a dimension. You don't want to put the dimension where it's kind of in the way of an edge like we see right here. You definitely don't want to put it somewhere like this. Where you can't see it very well. You want to just move it away from the part so that you're not going to accidentally click on it. And the other issue is, if you keep the number really close to your part, you might, when you go to make that second click, you might accidentally click on something else that you don't want to. So generally, if you just scoot it away from the part and click again, you should be just fine. So I'm going to click, and you see we get a little box that pops up. And right here is where we can type in our size. So I'm just going to type in 2. And then I can press enter, or I can hit the little green check that we see right up here. And we can see that line is now 2 inches. And I could do the same thing down here for this bottom edge. One thing you do want to watch out for whenever you're doing these dimensions, you see when I hover over the line, in the middle of the line, you'll see there's a little yellow dot. And that yellow dot is what's called the midpoint of that line. Now, there may be some instances where you do want to click on that little midpoint, but in most cases, you don't want to click on it. And if you do click on it, you might get some errors and you might have to go back and try things over again. So just be careful. Generally, when I go to dimension, I don't hover over directly the middle of the line because I want to avoid that risk of accidentally clicking on the midpoint, unless that's what I want to do. In most cases, it's not. So I kind of hover over here. And once again, I'm just going to click, and you'll see the number will pop up, and I'm just going to kind of scoot it away from the part a little bit, and then click again, and I could put in whatever number I want. So that's dimensioning with a rectangle. Now, if you're drawing, let's say, a circle, if we were to go Smart Dimension, if you're trying to dimension the diameter or the size of this circle, you would just simply click on the outside edge of this circle. So when I click on it, you'll see a little number will pop up. Now, some people do wonder, if I move the mouse around, you'll see I get some kind of different ways that the dimension looks. And just so you know, it ends up being the same. Okay, this is all just visual items. Okay, it's, you know, do you want your dimension to look like this, or do you want it to look like this? Either way, it's going to be the exact same size. So it's totally up to you which one you pick. So once again, I could just click, type in a number, and that changes the size. Now, you may have noticed, whenever I draw these shapes, let's draw another circle. What you'll notice is, before I do any dimensions, you'll notice the circle right now is blue. Now, when I go to add my dimension, what you'll notice is after I add my dimension, the circle then turns black. And when these lines turn black, what this means is that the sketch is fully defined. And what fully defined means is that basically everything that you've sketched out has been fully dimensioned, and that there's pretty much no more dimensions that you could add to that shape. And you'll actually see in the bottom of the screen, it will say fully defined down there. Now, what happens sometimes is you might draw the circle, you might dimension it, but the lines stay blue. And you may be wondering, well, why isn't this sketch fully defined? And chances are, one of the reasons for that is because, probably one of the most common reasons, is maybe you didn't start at the origin point that you see right here. So watch, if I draw a circle, let's just say over here, okay, so I've drawn the circle away from that origin point. The lines are blue right now, and if I dimension it, the lines are still blue. Okay, and the reason for that is because we have determined the size of this circle, but we have not determined the location of the circle. So you can see this circle, you know, it can move all over the place. We don't really know exactly where this circle is located at. And the origin point, that's what determines location, because this screen is a giant coordinate system. And you'll see down here at the bottom of the screen, you know, as I move my mouse around, you'll see little coordinate numbers will change. So if I take this circle and I stick it to the origin point, what you're going to see is it's going to stick it to basically a coordinate of 0, 0, 0. And as soon as I release, you're going to see those lines, which are blue, they're going to turn black immediately, meaning that this sketch is now fully defined. And we could then go exit sketch. And I know some people who've been following along, they may be using this little arrow to change the height of their parts or the thickness of their parts. Now, this little arrow can be handy if you're just trying to build something really quick, but it's not all that accurate. Generally, what you want to do is over on the left side of the screen is pretty much the dimension for your extrusion. So you could type in an exact number. If I want this to be 2 inches tall, it's now 2 inches. If I want to be 1 inch tall, it's now 1 inch tall. So hopefully that was helpful in learning a little bit about how dimensions work. So have a great day.